Hi, this is Herb Laird. I wanted to give you a preview of a Super Tuesday event that'll be March 4th, less than a month from now. And I thought I'd do this preview on Super Bowl Sunday so you'd have something to view up until the game. I had the vision of this several months ago. I have a longtime friend and business associate from Buenos Aires, obviously Argentina, and I saw he was doing presentations at Chicago at their chamber and in Detroit and in Dallas and Atlanta and DC. And I said, what about Little Rock? And he laughed the other day and he said, well, I was just jealous. And I said, no, it's really because I love you and what you've done. And you've been an impact on my life. And so I wanted to have you here. And we got together, and it really had some side benefits. One of his partners is an MIT graduate, and he lives out in California. And they have operations not only in Buenos Aires, but in Florida and Texas, and then out in California and in Chicago and other places. So they've got a wide range of representation in the U.S., and their thoughts on AI is independent. There's no lobbyist backing this. He's doing it as a friendship. And we plan to have some presentations and some other people from Argentina come in. And it'll be a great program. And that's being arranged by Marla Johnson at UALR. And she'll be having a website and ways to attend. And be sure that you follow that, because seating and space is going to be dependent on people that are planning to come, and it's a little open in ULR. And then we have an event later that may be somewhat restricted, but it's a wine tasting out at the Arkansas, the Museum of Fine Arts, and Dr. Victoria Ramirez has been really helpful. She did a podcast with me earlier, and so she's got a story about her mother having Parkinson's, but that's just the backstory on this. That's not the main story, but artificial intelligence has a lot to do with what people will be using as far as disabilities and other things. So that's something to be kept in mind. But we want to have different sessions for different people, so it's important that you sign up and maybe talk a little bit about your interests so that we can make sure that you get put in the right place. Some people, since I guess the big news out of China was, and I've got more information on that, is how a young person now has put together a plan for much less money that had been used in AI in the U.S. And I think this group here, and the partners that I'm aware of, have the opportunity to be another one of those, and maybe even a better option than what's out there now. So I think you may be seeing future billionaires or ideas that make you a billionaire if you want to come and attend. So the invitations are going to be out this week, and they'll be through UALR, and you can always respond to me, and you might just think of this on my side as a side hustle for a 81-year-old person with Parkinson's, just to kind of keep my cognitive thinking going and my, trying to speak with intent. So it's a fun event, but and a fun exercise for me, but it has its challenges, as you can imagine. So I'm really happy that Marla Johnson stepped in and Pablo was willing to respond, and we've kind of worked through a lot of details on that. But look forward to seeing you there, and I think we may even have some out-of-state people. It's that exciting and such a good group of people that it's going to draw a lot of local, state, and even some national interest. So it's important that you get a jump on this and take action to attend. We probably have some video on it, but it's always like to be there and do the Q&A, and that's a great part, as well as the social time together. Thanks.
Okay, my next podcast is some experts on AI coming to Little Rock on March the 4th. Watch for invitations and things that you can be aware of this. It's going to be, I guess, at UALR, and then later on there'll be a wine tasting, kind of a contest at the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts. So this is going to be a very exciting time.
Hi, Little Rock and Arkansas business leaders. I'm excited to be part of an upcoming event where we talk about AI, innovation, and business growth. On March 3rd, I'll be joining for a powerful discussion on how AI and technology can drive revenue growth and reduce costs before your competitors do. We'll explore practical strategies to improve efficiency, scale operations, and stay ahead in an ever-evolving market. Whether you're in manufacturing, services, retail, or tech, this is a great opportunity to learn, exchange ideas, and connect with other forward-thinking leaders in Arkansas. Join us in Little Rock on March 3rd for this insightful conversation. I'd love to see you there and hear your perspectives. See you soon.
Sebastian, and I've got exciting news. Celada is coming to Little Rock to talk AI. What's real, what's next, and what really matters in 2025. We're bringing in Suber, who has a deep knowledge in AI and an MIT background to break it all down. Also, Pablo, our managing director, will be adding his insights on how these changes are going to impact businesses. So no fluff, no hype, just a real conversation on where AI is headed and why it matters. So if you're in Little Rock, come join us. See you there.
I mean, it really feels like, Mark, this was a goalposts moving moment for AI and how we're all going to relate to it as investors. Do you feel that way too?
Well, it certainly has been perceived that way. I mean, I think it's still too early to tell. You know, I try to geek out and learn more about mixture of experts and the way they're doing their models and all that stuff. So, you know, I think it's still too early. But I think what really changes is it's not just a race to raise as much money as you can in order to be a player. And it also impacts regulation. Because before, when we talked about AI regulation, the presumption was all these companies, the Metas, the Googles, et cetera, OpenAI, they were so big they needed to be regulated because there really weren't up-and-comers that could disrupt them. Now, if all this plays out the way it appears to, the message is, you know, bring on the 12-year-olds, you know, bring on the disruptors who can come in here and change the AI game. You know, there's an old saying, when you run with the elephants, there's the quick and the dead. And we finally found somebody quick who can run with the elephants. And now the question is, can the elephants run with the quick companies like DeepSeek? And I think you're going to see a lot more entries into the AI space. I think you'll see a lot of more private investment into small up-and-coming companies.
Today on Forbes, here's how much AI firm DeepSeek and its founder are worth. On January 20th, on the same day as Donald Trump's inauguration in Washington, Chinese Premier Li Qiang held a meeting with experts to consult on the Chinese government's policies for the year ahead. It was a low-key event that got little attention outside of China. One of the few people to speak at the gathering was Liang Wangfeng, a bespectacled hedge fund founder and AI entrepreneur who was then little known outside the country. That was also the day his firm, DeepSeek, launched its latest model, R1, and claimed it rivals OpenAI's latest reasoning model. Within a week, DeepSeek's app had rocketed to the top of app stores in the United States, dethroning those of its competitors, including OpenAI's ChatGPT and Anthropic's Claude, and turning Liang and his AI firm, DeepSeek, into household names. The best-known AI startups in the US are worth tens of billions of dollars, ranging from $50 billion for Elon Musk's xAI to $157 billion for OpenAI. And they have raised huge sums from the world's most prominent investors, including Microsoft, Amazon, and Silicon Valley's top venture capital shops. Unlike its US competitors, DeepSeek appears to have no external investors outside of Liang and his 3 co-founders. According to Chinese corporate records, Liang owns about 84% of the Hangzhou-based firm, which he founded in 2023 and financed with funds from High Flyer Capital Management, the quantitative trading hedge fund he co-founded in 2015. So how much is Liang's open-source AI model worth? Forbes spoke to 5 analysts and investors who offered a range of potential valuations, but the 3 who provided a specific number agreed DeepSeek is worth at least $1 billion, and potentially far more, despite the fact that it doesn't yet generate much revenue. Right now, DeepSeek has one paid product, developer access to its models. Its reasoning model costs $2.19 per million output tokens, which on average is 750,000 words, far less than OpenAI's $60. That low price could simply be to undercut larger competitors OpenAI and Anthropic to capture market share, but Forbes estimates that DeepSeek generates around $6 million in annualized revenue per million paying users, using estimates of a typical user's token usage from investment firm D.A. Davidson. Apply that to a revenue multiple of 65, somewhere between that of Anthropic and Chinese open-source AI startup O1AI, which raised outside capital in late 2023. And DeepSeek would need around 3 million paying users to reach $1 billion valuation. More than 3.6 million people downloaded DeepSeek's app in its first 2 weeks, per App Figures data. Regardless of DeepSeek's exact revenue, Forbes estimates it's worth at least $1 billion, in part because state-of-the-art models like DeepSeek's are often valued at their so-called blue sky potential, rather than as a multiple of revenue. This according to tech investor and Corpora.ai CEO Mel Morris. D.A. Davidson analyst Alexander Platt says that DeepSeek is arguably in the, quote, top 5 AI labs in the world right now. Platt adds that it should be worth more to, quote, account for the research horsepower there, which isn't necessarily monetizable. Born in 1985, Liang studied artificial intelligence at Zhejiang University in Hangzhou and got a bachelor's in electronic engineering in 2006 and later a master's in information and communication engineering. While he was still in graduate school, he started exploring how to fully automate trading on China's domestic stock market. In 2015, he co-founded High Flyer, which used math and AI techniques to build a hedge fund. Liang owns at least 76% of High Flyer, which has $8 billion in assets, according to financial data provider Preqin. Forbes values High Flyer at $240 million, with Liang's stake worth about $180 million. Chinese corporate records also show that he owns 85% of another High Flyer entity that was first registered in 2015 and manages 65 of the firm's 503 active funds, meaning his equity in the firm could be even higher. Put it all together, and Liang is likely worth at least $1 billion, making him the latest founder to mint a fortune from AI. For full coverage, check out Giacomo Tagnini and Phoebe Liu's piece on Forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows.
The markets with NVIDIA losing nearly $600 billion in value triggered by a major AI advancement in China that U.S. officials are already warning could be a threat to national security. Brian Chung is here. Brian, what do we know about this app?
Lester, it's an AI chatbot called DeepSeek, and it's the #1 free app on Apple's App Store. Those in the AI space have been impressed by how well it stands up to its American competitors, but it's Wall Street that's shaken by how cheap its developers say they were able to train it. Just $5.6 million. Now, if true, that would be more efficient compared to how much it costs to train ChatGPT and Google's Gemini AI, which are made here in the U.S. Lester.
Big question for a lot of users. Will this have the same national security concerns that we saw with TikTok?
Well, it could. DeepSeek's terms of use are governed by China, and it raises questions over censorship and guided answers. Now, DeepSeek says it collects users' keystrokes and stores information in Chinese servers, as some lawmakers on Capitol Hill have already expressed concern. And it's a good reminder, by the way, Lester, to never give your personal sensitive information to any AI software.
All right.
The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world.
CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady joins us now for more on this. I hadn't heard of this before yesterday, Kelly. So why has DeepSeek gained so much popularity so quickly?
I'm right there with you, Earl, and I think a lot of investors and users were surprised by this. Look, so it's gained so much popularity because DeepSeek may have created a better and more energy-efficient chatbot than anything that we've seen in the U.S. We know the technology is there. So tech analysts are saying this is nearly just as good as OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, but it can actually explain its reasoning and logic before it gives you the answer. And that if you believe DeepSeek, they were able to create this with just 2,000 chips versus tens of thousands of chips that U.S. models use. So there's all of this excitement around this because this is something that people haven't necessarily seen before.
Following is Pablo Albion and his thoughts on AI.
This time we are working in AI, and Hubert, who is, I would say that is the nerd of the four partners that we are. He was fully involved, and he was. I don't know if he still finished his PhD or not. This is something that I don't know. But he's always trying to develop new technologies and and find different uses for the technology that is coming. Okay. To give an example, today we are working in a technology that is called Edge AI. That is how AI is worked with IoT devices. Okay, and it's a very new use of the AI. We are building some voice AI with predictive AI and this kind of crazy things. So because of that, Hubert is more in the R&D area in the company, okay? But also because he's a genius from that standpoint. He's speaker in many conferences, okay? I think that the week after or before we are planning to be in Arkansas. He's going to Dubai to be speaker in a conference in Dubai. Okay, so he's a very high level guy, and he's very well knowing all the environment. A lot of with all the companies that we normally talk that doesn't know how to start moving forward in the AI field. There's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings. So this is what we are trying to do, is to share with these people our experience and our vision about how the AI might be used.
Following Marla Johnson, who is facilitating this meeting in Little Rock on March 4th.
So, I work for a university now. But I had an internet company, so and I still have a lot of contacts in lots of industries. I worked with companies all over the country, and I don't want to have an event that is not a win-win. Make sure that you have a great experience and that you get out of it something that's beneficial to you. And then I just need to make sure, as I represent the university, that the university also gets something good, out of it. Of course. So that's what we're here to figure out. Okay. Let me tell you about just a couple of the conversations I've had with different people in the industry, and also my relationship with the investment community. So there are entrepreneurs now, and I was one of them, hiring developers and tech leader out of Argentina.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
I'm trying to remember now. I was working with one of my clients was Ernst and Young, and they had a giant team, like 10,000 people who were in Argentina. You know, we were doing tax stuff for South America mainly. That was mainly our focus. But I think that you just be aware that as an entrepreneur, I'm aware of the talent in coming out of Argentina. I'm also aware of the awesome success story that Argentina has had for entrepreneurialism, for building, you know, a lot of startup activity. Those are two topics that I think a lot of us are interested in, you know, modeling that, if you will, or learning from your experiences, but also connecting to your people. We have some amazing graduate students and students who are already working in companies. What you need to know about the University of Arkansas at Little Rock.
The Mark Cuban lead-in is really a good, I guess, choice for the purposes of talking about AI, the impact that the Chinese company had. I met Mark Cuban a few years ago at a cable show. He was exhibiting, and I was too. So you got a chance to really pick his brain on a lot of things. And he knew he was an up-and-comer. And he talked a lot at the conferences as well, but he's always willing to give his opinion.
Well, I've just been in a planning session for the event that's coming up March
4th.
One I had worked on with inviting business associates, a great friend, Pablo Abian, along with several other key people with Argentina ties, now in Argentina or in the U.S. One is, I guess, an expert on artificial intelligence. And that in itself has a big, long story. I know in the 1990s it was an exciting time. A lot of the old established companies were focusing on the Y2K event. They had kept their software in COBOL and they had put it in code where only 2 digits represented the year. So when it got to 2000, you're going to see 00, and that impacted a lot of systems. We had changed our strategy, and we had been doing things on a Series 1 and RPG code and EDX, so we had the understanding of what the impact was of Y2K, but it was not a big issue for us. We were rewriting our system to do a situation there where we were doing it on a PC, and we wanted to take advantage of being an open system where we could do some of our base things through our own code and be on a lower cost platform. Sounds a little bit like the things that were been going on in China. And I've been to Hangzhou, so I kind of realized what was happening there and can identify with that. So what happened was that we came out with a product in the 1990s that had a lot of foreign interest, whereas a lot of the old cable software systems that were Service Bureau were on old code and were on closed systems. And that's the big thing that you have to remember as to why the China AI solution took off. It was being done on a open system and in a lower cost platform, much like what we did back then. But in my trip to Hangzhou, I went to several places in China. I made presentations in Beijing, and I recall there doing a presentation where there was I followed a marketer in China who put code across the board, and it's a little bit like explaining why you should like Coca-Cola better than other drinks. And instead of just being pretty basic about it, he put all kinds of formulas up there talking about his marketing project. And it's just like you almost ran out of space going across the board, putting up a bunch of different formulas. So the Chinese are pretty adept at doing things like that. They were able to formalize things that we might do in a simple form. For example, like Coca-Cola, they may use a picture there where they just show that Coke tastes good, and they show some animation or some, horses or whatever they might want to show, but they keep it simple. So my presentation was more like what we do in the U.S. in our marketing. And again, you have to be simple in the sense of when you have people that are taking calls or talking to subscribers, that you can communicate and not be putting up some kind of an option there that nobody really understands until they get a bill, and then they start complaining. So we went through that in Beijing. In Guangzhou is similar. It's close to Hong Kong. But I was wanting to talk about Hangzhou, since it's been in the news a lot. Everybody says, how could they do it in a small company in Hangzhou? Well, Hangzhou is short distance from Shanghai, and it's a communications capital of telecommunications. And I was there as a presenter, exhibitor, and so I had a lot of inside connections. And we even got to be on China TV. They have a big studio. I've been to a lot of the U.S. studios, and they're not even close to the size of the studios there, and they have all kinds of security. But I was there with a translator, and we got to interact with the crowd, and it was kind of more informal than I expected. And then we waited to be on the program, and we were queued up, I guess, to go out and do food tasting, which you could imagine they knew they could make fun of foreigners, and particularly those in the United States, about the taste of their food and identifying what it was. But that said, I wanted to make sure you're aware that my experience goes back to that time, and also the fact that I'm very familiar with taking a small unknown product into the global market, and that's one that was kind of developed in the Ozarks and then went internationally. Well, the upcoming conference or a day meeting that we have scheduled with contacts from Argentina, or with my old friend Pablo Abian. I spent a day or two there with him up in D.C. When Trump won the first election. That would have been 2016. And we met with a power couple from Argentina, Buenos Aires, and they were there observing the election. That's why I remember it so clearly, because that was the first time that Trump won, and we were there meeting with them because I had some contacts and I'd been selling some products in LED in my market area in Arkansas, and I worked with Jim Tucker, and so I wanted to meet with them and talk to them while they were there. And Pablo and I met with them, and they were only English speaking, so Pablo being there was real important to translate and also just carry the meeting, although I would give input at times. And it was really an interesting time. It also just showed that I had done work with Pablo then, and early on I had made contact when we were starting to do our software, cable TV software in South America, and one of the earlier installations was in Pelotas, Brazil. It's not too far from Uruguay, and that's another story in itself. And my friend Sid Shreve had a friend that had a ranch there, had about 2,000 head of Herefords. So it was a sizable ranch that we would stay out there and ride horses at times. But getting back to Pablo, then we just maintained contact and a lot of friendship over the years. And again, I went to his home, his wife Nora, and his son Frank, who's now a father. So Pablo's he's a grandparent now. Doesn't look it, but he is. And so we always have a lot of fun out of that and maintain contact. The main thing there is that he represents a lot of companies out of Argentina, both in the U.S. and back in Argentina. And he's going to be speaking on that subject at the upcoming meeting that's going to be held in Little Rock. It's going to be at UALR and also out at the Arkansas Art Museum. So I'm looking forward to that event, and I'll be having some interviews with some people, or at least some videos of some of the people who will be presenting, and we will be getting this out to many people so they will see what the event entails. And the latter part of the event is at the museum, and will be a Argentina wine tasting. So it'll be a lot of education, a lot about the ethics of artificial intelligence, and why small companies from anywhere can be major players. That's one thing. Having a friendship, or at least a relationship over the years with Mark Cuban, I met him early on in cable shows, talks about the small entrepreneurs being a player to compete with billion-dollar companies. At one time, it was only thought that you had to have a lot of money to compete, but that's no longer. So you'll be seeing a video on that as well.